Great, thank you so much, Ms. Kayer. Hi, everybody. My name is Erica Amen. I have been a site administrator in Castro Valley Unified School District for the last 13 years. In the last 7 years, I've been the principal of the Castro Valley Virtual Academy, as well as the remainder of the district's alternative high school programs. And I welcome you to our information night and hope that you find this presentation helpful. And at the very end, we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers. So I'm joined tonight by Ms. Amy Kayer, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent, as well as Ms. Vivian Parator, our Director of Secondary Education. So thanks to both of you for being with me. And I look forward to getting started and answering any questions that you may have. So next slide, please. So I wanted to provide just a brief visual image of the Virtual Academy. So this is one of our primary classrooms, as well as Edgenuity, the online curriculum that we primarily use for the Castro Valley Virtual Academy. Next slide, please. I wanted to provide a quick overview. The Virtual Academy is a newer high school option for Castro Valley Unified School District high school students. CVVA is a fully WASC accredited high school. We went through the full initial WASC accreditation and were granted maximum accreditation due to the quality of the program. It offers a variety of A to G college preparatory classes. Primarily provides a blended learning model, which is online courses with in-person teacher support. We support students and families with regular progress updates, as well as ample communication from staff members, counselor, and supervising teacher. And then one of my very favorite parts, and one that students have expressed is one of their favorite parts as well, there's a tremendous opportunity with the flexible and individualized scheduling options that can be created with this program. Next slide, please. I wanted to also share our vision. So this was a collaborative process that was the product of teacher, student, family, and my input. So the Virtual Academy provides students with alternative and flexible learning to prepare for college and career while engaging in opportunities outside of a typical school structure to work through challenges, explore accelerated or non-traditional learning, and develop independence as a learner and young adult. So that vision really encompasses what it is that CVVA is all about and what we intend to accomplish, especially as compared to different high school options that we offer as a district. Next slide, please. Our school also decided on some student learner outcomes, and that is what we hope to accomplish with our CVVA students in their time at CVVA. So demonstrate college and career readiness was one of our primary goals. Become adaptable and flexible learners, which this year in particular, we've all found absolutely necessary. And develop into well-rounded individuals. Next slide, please. So one of the things that was especially important to me to emphasize in this presentation in particular is that CVVA has been a school for over 5 years. So we have a longstanding history as we, as I developed the school, as we've grown slowly but surely. And then we also have CVVA in this school year, which is a completely different model because of distance learning. So one of the things that I really wanted to clarify is what CVVA has been, what it has been intended to be as a school site, and then some of the, in particular, requirements that we've fallen under distance learning that have tweaked or changed just a few things for this school year only. So I wanted to go over what those are. So distance learning requirements under Assembly Bill 98 in California really put some specific requirements into place that have been different for us as a school site. The AB 98 will be done at the end of this school year, and so we will be able to return to the same structures that we really deliberately put into place to be able to support our students. So blended learning is our typical school structure. That's online learning as well as in-person learning and support from highly qualified and credentialed teachers. And I'll get into a lot more of what that looks like as I move forward in the presentation. This year, because of the AB 98 attendance requirements and the need to have that live contact with the teacher every single day, we've had a daily advisory class. That's not typically a part of our structure, and we have the in-person workshops instead that are specifically designed to be all about what students' content needs are and really designed and organized according to student need. And then finally, one of the biggest differences has been the ability to organize classes in a variety of ways because of our flexibility with scheduling and attendance. This year, there's been a necessity to have work on classes every single day or to work on them every few days. We typically have a great deal of flexibility in terms of students being able to chunk out when it is that they're working on classes. So that could be I'm focusing on 2 classes at a time and completing those 2 classes every 6 weeks so that I'm finishing all 6 by the end of the 18-week semester, or a variety of other options. So what we're really excited about is being able to return to that highly flexible schedule that really allows students, families, teachers and counselors and supervising teachers to work together to create what benefits each individual student best. So those are really the main differences that I wanted to highlight, and I'm sure there may be some questions later that have to do with this, and I'm happy to answer them. But I really wanted to emphasize that this year under distance learning, things have looked just a little bit different, and we're excited to return to some of the more flexible options that we've had historically. Next slide, please. So blended learning is the use of online courses through Edgenuity, which is our online curriculum, as well as in-person workshops with highly qualified teachers. I have a really wonderful core group of teachers who've been working with the Virtual Academy for about 5 years and have just been a tremendous rock in terms of building a really highly qualified teacher group to work with CVVA. Next slide, please. The Edgenuity platform is something that I really like to emphasize as a great tool. They've done a lot of work about 2 years ago to really switch up the platform to make it very user-friendly for students. And also the way that they've changed it has helped students with their pacing, because that can be one of the biggest challenges of online learning, is making sure that students are staying pace with all of their classes. So this user-friendly platform helps students break down what needs to be accomplished each day based on the start date and end date of their classes. It also helps students monitor their achievement. So there's a wonderful dashboard that pops up for students. It's all color coded, lets students know how they're doing in each class, what their current grade is, if they're ahead, if they're behind, and it is right there every time they log on. We're also really lucky in that Edgenuity offers email and phone support. So if any sort of technical difficulty comes up, there's always a way to get a hold of someone in Edgenuity to be able to address those questions. Next slide, please. So the CVVA workshops with teachers have traditionally been held on the weekdays and the afternoons, especially for our students who are hybrid and are taking some classes at Castro Valley High School. We always organize schedules to make sure that CVHS classes are in the morning, and that then frees up the afternoon for CVVA classes and workshops to be attended in the afternoon. So Students attend workshops basically depending on how many CVVA classes they have and how much help they need. And that's one of the things that we work together collaboratively with students, families, and staff to make those determinations. Students check in with their supervising teacher to review their progress in classes. How are they doing? Where are they at with each class? Students also set weekly goals for their progress and achievement in classes. This is a feature of the workshop in particular that I really like, because it asks students to assess their own progress and monitor where they are, and set goals not only for the time that they have in workshop and what they hope to accomplish, but also what they're going to be working on throughout the rest of the week. And that's done on a weekly basis in workshop. Teachers are there to answer questions, provide content instruction, and give support and feedback. So it's very common to walk in, see Mr. Bunn, one of our English teachers, sitting down and working with a student on an essay. Miss Abbott, one of our wonderful math teachers, up on the whiteboard teaching a student a concept that they had a question about or may have gotten stuck on, as a couple of examples. Next slide, please. So we have a variety of enrollment options for students. We have the option of full-time CVVA, which would be taking all 6 classes through CVVA. We also have 2 hybrid options between CVVA and CVHS. There has to be a majority at either school, so it's typically a 4-2 or a 2-4. So that can either be hybrid with the majority of classes at CVHS, or hybrid with the majority of classes at CVVA. And then an additional feature that is definitely one that a lot of our CVVA students have taken advantage of is the concurrent enrollment option at community college, because of the flexible scheduling that enrolling in CVVA allows, and therefore opens up a lot of opportunity for being able to take a community college course or two. Next slide, please. So one of the things that has really been emphasized as something that students love and appreciate, as well as families, is the flexible scheduling options. So I wanted to share just a couple of ideas over the years that students have shared that they really appreciate. So that flexible scheduling option really allows students to decide, reflect on and understand when learning works best for them. There are some morning learners, not many at the high school level, many afternoon and evening learners, and they have that option and that flexibility of really working and diving into that academic content when it works best for them and their learning. Enrollment in community college. Some students have chosen to have a part-time job. We've also had students successfully accelerate through high school faster, including finishing up to a year early. What we've also found is a reduction in anxiety and stress because of having more choice over scheduling, as well as having a little bit of a break from the robust and very full and busy campus of CVHS, and developing independence and taking charge of learning. Has also been, I really feel like when I see CVVA students arriving on campus to workshop, I'm reminded of college students who are showing up kind of, in charge, backpack on, they're taking care of their own schedule and really making a lot of really deliberate choices for themselves based on their own learning style. And that's been a real treat to get to see develop in students over the years. Next slide, please. I wanted to include a few sample schedules because I feel like it's helpful to try to have some sort of, some visual of what does all this mean in reality for my family or for my student. So I created just a sample full-time CVVA schedule, which would be about 25 to 30 hours of coursework a week. And I put working online on classes for 2 big chunks of the day on Monday. Again, with a little bit that 9 o'clock start that might be a better fit for some students. Again, Tuesday doing some some morning online classes and then attending a workshop on Tuesday afternoon. um, Wednesday doing online classes, workshop, and then I put in a community college class that you'll also see on Friday. So that Wednesday, Friday community college class for 3-hour chunks of time. And then again, Thursday working online on classes at home, and then doing the workshop at CVVA in the afternoon. So you can see a pretty robust schedule, but one that offers some opportunities in terms of both in-person workshop time as well as community college time, balanced out with the online work time. Next slide, please. And then I put a hybrid CVVA CVHS schedule with 4 classes, so the majority at CVVA. I also included periods 3 and 4 at CVHS. Again, this was according to last year's bell schedule, but I think that it's a great example as we return to bell schedules, of what it is that this would look like for a student taking periods 3 and 4 at CVHS. So again, this one I really wanted to emphasize a little bit later start time. So a student who really prefers to dive into learning, past 10 o'clock, and maybe do a little bit more learning, later on in the early evening. So attending periods 3 and 4. The block day is laid out on Tuesday, Wednesday. And then there's attending workshop 2 days a week rather than the 3 that you saw with the full-time student. And next slide, please. And then this is finally a schedule of a hybrid student with majority CVHS classes. So I did CVHS periods 1 through 4. So you see that little bit earlier start. And then I also wanted to show this is what, a student who really wanting to do, do a little bit more work in the evening time. So 6 to 8 o'clock for the CVVA online classes. I added a community college class in there for from 6 to 9 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then I also added a part-time job, and wanted to emphasize in particular with this one, I put Saturday as part of the work time, because accomplishing work on Saturday and or Sunday counts as the work that's done towards student attendance and progress in classes. So it really, the students is fitting in a whole lot of stuff, but it all is doable, especially if it's stretched out into Saturday. And wanted to emphasize too that is in fact an option with CVVA classes. Right, next slide, please. So we have both a CVVA counselor and a CVVA supervising teacher role. So I wanted to explain what both of those are and the ways that those two roles are supporting CVVA students. So we have CVVA counselor, who is guiding course selection, A to G completion, graduation, for-year planning, post-secondary planning. And then is also implementing any interventions, helping with communication with teachers, all the typical things that our wonderful counselors work with students to support. Uh, in CVVA, and one thing that's unique to an independent study setting is the role of a supervising teacher. So that supervising teacher is responsible for working collaboratively with students and families to supervise and monitor the progress of students to ensure that they're keeping up with their work. So that supervising teacher historically has held the individual enrollment meetings with students and families, done weekly check-ins with students in workshop, and worked on assessing that overall progress, and then facilitates that goal setting at workshop that I was describing, where students have to set goals about what they want to accomplish in their workshop time across the course of their week, where they are with certain classes, which teachers they want to ask for help on certain assignments or concepts. And so the counselor and supervising teacher work collaboratively to kind of hold and support students as they move through the program throughout the year. Next slide, please. And then there's our wonderful teachers. I wanted to put up an example just the way that you might see an English teacher supporting a student. So providing that kind of digital input on how students are doing on drafts. So CVVA teachers help monitor student progress in courses. If a student is falling behind, they receive emails from teachers. Hey, just want to check in, see that you're falling behind. How can I help? Providing regular feedback on assignments, supporting students during in-person workshops to answer questions, clarify content, provide specific instruction. I had a CVVA science teacher who said, oh, I had a group of students who really were struggling with the lab report. So she held a specific, and this was actually digitally, held a specific lab report writing workshop to be able to support students in getting through that next hurdle. Responding to student and family emails, providing feedback on writing and drafts, and assisting students to prepare for assessments. We also work to make sure if student, for whatever reason, is falling behind or has gotten a poor score on a test, okay, what are the concepts I need to reteach? How can I help the student re-prepare for the assessment and then have more success again in a retake? Next slide, please. One of the things that I love about Edgenuity and that platform in particular is that communication is an embedded part of what happens for families when their student is enrolled. So families receive weekly email updates about student progress from Edgenuity. It's just an automatic email. Students and families also receive regular emails from CVVA staff. So whether it's content teachers, supervising teacher, or counselor. And then students and families can log into their own portal accounts to monitor progress and grades as well. So there's a lot of access, whether it's automatically generated or when you want to dive in and check out where things are with your student. Next slide, please. One thing that is a big question that comes up a lot is, would this be a good fit for my student? I'm not sure. So one of the things that we did, especially in our accreditation process, was work with students and families and staff to identify qualities that they felt were really helpful in students being successful in CVVA. So definitely being a self-directed and independent learner has been hugely helpful in student success at CVVA. Interest in scheduling flexibility, success at managing academic rigor. Rigor has been very comparable in a lot of feedback from students to CVHS. So being able to successfully manage the rigor of CVHS has led to success in being able to manage the rigor of CVVA. And then again, possibility for acceleration or taking concurrent classes. These have all been helpful qualities that students and staff have identified. Next slide, please. A big question I also get is, where is CVVA? So it's located at 18400 Clifton Way, and it's I have to say, and I know I'm biased, but it is the most beautiful campus that we have in the district. It is often referred to as the hidden gem of our district. So it is a campus shared by all of CVUSD's smaller alternative programs. During the CVVA workshop hours, there are no other high school programs that are happening. It's a small, quiet, and serene campus with beautiful old oak trees, and just it's a lovely, beautiful spot. And there's the tiny little dot on the map. Next slide, please. Oh, there it is. Ta-da. And it feels as peaceful as that. I also wanted to include some student feedback so that you could hear, voices other than mine about CVVA. So CVVA gives students the flexibility they need to help them be successful at their own pace. CVVA brings a lot of flexibility to your life, and you still learn a lot. The staff and fellow students are kind and welcoming and will help you reach your potential. And I think it's great for kids to be able to be independent and strong. And that's that kind of self-determination piece that we really have seen a lot of as students settle into CVA and get to make a lot of their own choices about scheduling and how the program works for them. Next slide, please. And then we also wanted to include some parent guardian feedback. So one of the wonderful things about CVA has been the classroom setting. The setting is casual yet designed to enhance the learning experience. Teachers are readily available. Students who want extra help with understanding a topic can get one-on-one support from the teacher. Staff and at CVA really care about the students. The staff does a great job of working with each student and family and assuring that specific educational goals are set and are being met. The counselor takes the time to review a student's progress and helps each student make the course choices that best match his or her graduation goals. And our student has thrived at CVA. Next slide, please. So how do I enroll in CVA for next year? I included the Virtual Academy website. You can type in Google, Castro Valley Virtual Academy. It will take you straight to the course selection forms. If you happen to already be in CVA, this is the right form to fill out. If you have a student who is currently a Castro Valley High School student, that's where you need to start because that form is the correct form to fill out. So it needs to be the form provided by your student's current school. And then we have a whole process to make sure that everybody gets to sign up for the classes that they want in plenty of time to ensure that we're building the master schedules according to what your students need so that we can then, after that's all done, in the late spring and early summer, get everybody in the correct schedules. Next slide, please. And then I wanted to put up for any additional questions. Again, we'll do a Q&A session right now, but for any additional questions after today or anything that you feel like is really specific to your student and maybe isn't something that you want to ask in front of everybody, no problem. We're happy to take any questions and have a dialogue. So I included, we have 2 counselors this year, Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Mosier. And then I put my email down there as well, Erica Amen at the cv.k12. And I think it's time for questions and answers. One thing I know that this is probably on people's minds, and I, for whatever reason, didn't include it in my presentation, is that activities. One of the big questions is activities. So I want to make sure that everybody knows activities are typically shared across all of our high school campuses. So things like senior ball and junior prom and all that good stuff is something that CVA students have access to. And it's a shared experience with Castro Valley High School. But that's really important to our students. And so I wanted to say that because I know that that'll come up as an important question.
You have a couple of questions that I was not able to answer. I've been trying to keep up with the question and answers online. Sure. One question was, how do students take the CAASP test or any standardized testing for that matter through CVA?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm gonna assume that we're not in any sort of distanced formatting. So typically what we've done is sent out emails, way in advance that lets everybody know what our CAASP testing schedule is. And then we schedule the CAASP testing at the same time as our workshops. So students are already used to coming in at those designated times. And then we have makeups too that are held kind of in non-workshop times. So we really work collaboratively with our families to set it up so there are lots and lots of different options available. And that's worked successfully in the last few years, again, prior to our distance learning model.
And another question was, what are the minimum number of sessions per week that a student would need to attend?
Sure. It really depends. A big part of the model that we're moving into is really having workshops be about students making the choice to attend, or if they're behind, or really needing some specific content support, ensuring that they attend workshops. But for students who are on target and or ahead, we are not making those workshops mandatory unless any sort of concern comes up. So it could be if you have a student who is successfully accessing support as needed through teachers, doing fine, on target or ahead, is doing well on all of their assessments, those in-person workshops may not be necessary. Which then again opens up a lot of support. But we always want to be really careful with that, because that contact time, especially for some of our students who are full-time, is their peer and teacher contact time. So that's a decision that we would make collaboratively.
Okay, so there's a question about how the labs are done in science class.
So right now we have all virtual labs. So the science requirement allows us to have virtual labs, have all of our lab reports done virtually, and those classes now include demonstrations of labs, but have alleviated the need to have that in-person lab time. And those are all labs that do count for the A to G science requirement.
Thank you. Question, if we selected hybrid model, do we still need to enroll the CVVA separately, or is the school going to handle the enrollment for the students?
Excellent question. So a lot of it depends on where the student is enrolled right now. I'm just going to assume CVHS full-time. So if you're a full-time CVHS student, you would fill out that course selection form and indicate that you want to do hybrid next year. You can go into Aries and you can select all of your CVHS classes, because that's someplace that you already have access to in Aries. And let's say you're going to do 4 classes in CVHS. So you would select your 4 classes. Then once we get to February 12th, which is our deadline for turning in all the course selection forms, we're going to take a look and see, okay, who signed up for hybrid that doesn't have access currently. Then we're going to give you access in Aries to make sure that you can sign up for your CVVA classes. And you'll get an email saying, hey, you signed up for hybrid. You have Aries access now. Please go in and select your courses for CVVA. And then that'll all get wrapped up probably about, I'd say, a week and a half or so after February 12th. And I just want to emphasize again that even though you're signing up for those CVVA classes after that 12th deadline, there's no impact at all on whether or not your student gets the class or not. We're just taking a tally of all the things that students want, so we can make sure we're offering the right classes. And then if you go to our website, there's a really nice set of directions that lays all of this out as well.
Are there AP classes?
So this year we have not offered AP classes, but we are, let's see, what are the 2 that we have, Vivian? AP US History and AP English, I believe,
Yes.
are on our course selection form.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hopeful that we have enough students sign up to be able to offer those sections. So please, if you're interested, definitely fill that out.
So the next question is from a current CVVA student.
Yes.
They haven't decided yet what they want to do next year, and how can they find out about the process of either?
You mean like either school?
Yes.
Sure. I would say, so our counselors, Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Mosier, both have drop-in hours to help you to give you a little bit more individualized direction around decision making for next year. Those are also posted on our website along with the links that you would need to attend their office hours. I also know that they'd be really happy to set up an appointment as well if for any reason those office hours don't work. But please do the office hours or reach out to your counselor, and we're happy to have any sort of dialogue or discussion with you.
If a student attends CVVA full-time,
Mhm.
can they still participate in athletic sports at CVHS?
Oh, great question. So we have applied for what's called a multi-school agreement um, through NCS, I believe is the overarching body that organizes sports in Northern California. So our multi-school agreement would indeed allow even a full-time CVVA student to participate in CVHS. So our application is fully in, and we're just waiting to hear back. We do not anticipate running into any issues, but I would definitely say to check back in with us probably prior to the start of the year to make sure that everything is in place. Not prior to the start of the year, but before the end of this year, because we'd want to make sure that everything's fine. But we don't, it's a fairly common application, and we anticipate that, yes, that will be a full opportunity for next year.
And then there's the same question, but
Mhm.
the athletic program they're asking about is Canyon.
Oh,
So,
Oh, maybe they were thinking, so the CVVA program that I've been presenting about is our high school option. Um, so it may be that you have a student who's currently a middle schooler and going to be a middle schooler next year. And that question I wouldn't be able to answer.
okay. My student is picking Japanese and beginning studio. Is that available at CVVA?
Great question. So no, that would be an excellent example of a student who may benefit from a hybrid program, because there are some really specific and wonderful elective classes at CVHS that CVVA just at its size is not able to offer. So like the really specific electives or languages. Japanese would be an example. American Sign Language is another example. We aren't able to offer those. We do offer Spanish 1, 2, and 3. So if you have a student who has a really specific elective that we aren't able to offer or a specific academic interest, I would definitely recommend exploring the hybrid option because that will allow your student to have kind of the best of both worlds.
Okay. Trying to keep up with it.
You're doing great, Miss Parator.
Oh, this is an interesting question. My sixth grader at Creekside is currently taking integrated math 1 with eighth graders.
Mm,
Can he enroll in CVVA for one subject, integrated math 2?
that
He would still need to stay at Creekside for the other classes.
Yes. So my best recommendation would be to contact Miss Andrea Eldridge. And if you want to email me, I'm happy to get you in contact with her. But she is our math teacher on special assignment for the district. She's extraordinary and wonderful, and I know that she'll be able to assist with a plan for your student. So please email me, or you can email her directly, Andrea Eldridge.
What is the staffing ratio for Castro Valley Virtual Academy?
The same as the whole rest of the district. So 1 to 33 is our staffing ratio. Typically in workshops, that is not the ratio because students are attending kind of on an as needed basis. So it tends to be a lot smaller groups and more individualized. But in terms of like the overarching number or in ratio, it's the same. In workshop, I would say it's very different. We'll typically have more like a 1 to 5, maybe 1 to 10, depending on if it's a busy day or not.
Can you switch out of CVVA if you would like to go back to CVHS full time?
Sure, absolutely. So just like any of our high school programs, switching is possible at the semester or at the beginning of the year. So any sort of school change can be done, starting in August. Again, at that winter break point after semester one is done, before the start of semester two. Um, and those are really the two transfer times. So it's absolutely possible. We've had students start at CVVA and realize that that level of flexibility was not the right fit. And then conversely, we've had students who, really realized that they needed a different type of schedule for themselves and have transferred from CVHS over to us at the semester. The way that that happens is typically through the school counselor and making a request for transfer. Um, it's it's ideal to definitely make these decisions, I would say, at the beginning of the year or in preparation for next year, rather than doing it in the middle of the year.
So tryouts for CVHS start next week. Would full-time current CVVA full-time students be able to attend tryouts or not?
So as of this moment in time, we haven't yet heard back from our multi-school agreement. So the requirement for this moment in time would be having uh, four CVHS classes would be the minimum required for being able to participate in sports. However, if you'd like to email me, I'd be happy to talk to Mr. Fortenberry, the athletic director at CVHS, to check on the status of our agreement, because things may have changed from last week when I last spoke to him. And I'd be happy to do that. So just if you want to shoot me an email, I'm happy to help you out and follow up.
Can a full-time CVVA student participate in CVHS music like band or choir?
Yes, but it technically will mean that you're a hybrid. But we do have some situations where we have a student participating in that, again, really specific kind of elective class. And so we're able to build you a full-time and robust CVVA schedule, but with that kind of 1-0 period class. It would be definitely something to talk to your school counselor about, especially because we want to make sure that you get your course selection filled out that way. But we have definitely support. Again, there's some really amazing programs at CVHS that we, of course, want students to have access to in addition to CVBA.
Is Mandarin available at CVVA?
No, that's another one, another language that is just offered at CVHS. So again, I would recommend the hybrid.
Oh, my daughter is interested in the Puente program, but she also selected to do hybrid. Is this okay?
Yes, but I would definitely make sure to contact the counselor to make sure that the course selection process is really clear, because we just have to make sure that we keep your student in all of the Puente specific classes, and then we complement that with whatever is left through CVVA. But we would prioritize making sure that they're in all of the Puente classes at CVHS first. But totally possible.
Somebody has said that currently the enrollment forms available on the website are for 2021. When will the forms be available for 21-22?
I think that they're titled 2021 because it's happening in the 2021 school year, but it's for next year. So that I promise they're the right ones. They didn't actually exist last year, so I apologize for the confusion, but I promise they're the right ones.
Do CVVA grads commonly go on to attend four-year college?
Yes. So we have students who have a variety of different post-secondary choices, but A to G, straight to 4-year is definitely something that we emphasize and support if that's what students are desiring to do.
When is confirmation going out that a child is registered to CVHS?
So I don't know what CVHS's confirmation process will be. So if they're switching from CVVA to CVHS, then I would say probably checking in with the counselor maybe at the end of February would be a good idea, because again, after the February 12th deadline, when all of the course selection forms and ARIES course request processes are due, we then have the kind of second tier of course selection process for any student who's making a switch. So by the end of February, that whole process should be done. So if you are in fact making a switch and I guess getting new access in ARIES to be able to do course selection, you should hear from us no later than like the third week of February.
Somebody said that they saw there was art in CVVA, Art 1. Is that equal to being studio art at CVHS?
Yes.
How do you know if all the courses that were recently selected will be available for CVVA?
Ooh, great question. So sort of around the same time as CVHS. So what we do is we take all of the course requests and we put them all together, kind of see, okay, I need to offer 4 sections of integrated 3, and I need to offer 3 sections of integrated 2. So we make those determinations throughout the spring, and then make sure that we have staffing and teachers with the right credentials to match those sections. So I would say maybe checking back in specifically maybe mid-spring would be, I would say, about the time that we would have an idea if sections are being offered or not. And then also, if for any reason, especially if you're signing up for a class that is for college eligibility, or a class that would absolutely be needed for high school graduation, if for any reason we weren't offering that class, you would receive contact from the counselor saying, I see that you signed up for this class, we're unable to offer it, we need to figure out what option we're doing instead, because it would impact your students' high school graduation eligibility or college eligibility. So we keep a close eye on that, and that's why we start this process so early, so that we can make sure everybody's getting what they need based on what their plans are.
If a full-time CVHS student is currently in a pathway program, does that carry over to CVVA with full or hybrid enrollment?
So if you're in a pathway and want to continue in the same pathway, it would be sort of similar to the Puente question that came up earlier. We would just want to really make sure that your counselor at CVHS is aware that you intend to continue in the pathway, but that you would like to take some classes at CVVA. And then we just have to strategically choose what those are, so that you're still in all the pathway classes, but getting your other classes through CVVA. So, but we could totally do it. We've done it in the past and it's worked out great, both with Puente, pathways, a lot of different options.
Great. If a student only needs 5 courses to graduate, can that student only enroll in 5 courses?
Yes, 5 is the minimum course requirement for enrollment for senior year. And that's absolutely possible for sure.
So there's a question about next week, 8th graders have tryouts for sports, or is it just for high schoolers? It's a question about the tryouts, I think, from another question that was asked about tryouts earlier. But
sure, I wish I had Mr. Fortenberry's knowledge, but I do not. So I'm not sure, I'm sorry, but I would definitely suggest calling Castro High School's main office, and I bet that they'll have that information.
And how do you do PE in CVVA?
It's digital PE with the option of doing some exercise logs. So we have some really cool exercise logs that we provide to students in addition to their digital class.
And we have one comment left, which is great job, Miss Amon, from Miss Abbott. And also a parent said thank you.
Oh, thanks. Miss Abbott is one of our long time CVVA wonderful math teacher, and that's really kind, Miss Abbott. Thank you. And that's it, Miss Parator?
Okay, wait, one more.
Oh, yes.
Course selection forms are for 10th through 12th grade. What about 9th graders?
Oh, is the 9th grade? You know what? The 9th grade one isn't on there. I will make sure it's on there. You check the website tomorrow and it'll be there. I apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, but thank you so much for pointing that out, because you're absolutely correct. When I posted that, it had been sent. Anyway, yes, tomorrow it'll be there. I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us, and I really appreciate your time. I know time is really precious right now, so I really appreciate you joining us and finding out any information and questions that you had. And please, by all means, if I wasn't able to address your question, or if you want to talk more personally about anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or our counselors. I think CVVA is a wonderful option and a wonderful fit for a lot of our students. So anything I can do to support your student and family in your decision-making process, I'm more than happy to do so.
A lot of people are saying thank you
Oh,
on the
you're
chat.
welcome.
So, but there are no more questions. Oh, do you send a course selection to CVVA?
You send course selection to if you are currently a CVVA student or a hybrid student, yes. If you're currently a CVHS student, you want to fill out your CVHS course selection form and put that you want hybrid on there. And then as soon as we get that, after February 12th, we'll give you access to make sure that you can enroll in CVVA classes.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody.